You got to keep both eyes open. Hey guys, the Black Critic Guy, back with another installment of my Captain America movie countdown to Captain America Brave New World. Man, I really need to retool that introduction because that is quite the mouthful. You can almost say that my intro needs a bit of a revamp, huh? Do you get it? You will soon once I tell you what I'm going to title this video, because I'm kind of torn between two titles. We'll see what future Tony decides the title of this video will be. But enough bantering. So yesterday I watched and shared my thoughts on the first Captain America movie, Captain America, the First Avenger. And today is an exciting day, because not only am I about to talk about unequivocally the best Captain America movie ever made, but arguably a top 3 or top 4 MCU film ever made. And I'm not even exaggerating. In fact, if I were to honestly say where I would place this film, it would be top 3, and it wouldn't be number 3. And what film is that? Why, it's the sequel to Captain America, the First Avenger, Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of in a quandary about how to title this video, or what to title the video, because there are two things that I would say perfectly describe this film. The first title I'm working on is, I want to call it Captain America, the Winter Soldier was a game changer. And the second title that I want to use is Captain America, the Winter Soldier is the perfect revamp. Segueing into the thing I said earlier. Now, I want to kind of explain the titles here. I'll explain the second title first, and then I'll explain the first title. With the second title, look, let's speak candidly for a minute, ladies and gentlemen. Do I love Captain America? What the hell do you think? Huh? What the hell do you think? Huh? What do you think? Yes, I love Captain America. So it goes without saying that I will support any Captain America media, any Captain America film, TV show, what have you. So watching The First Avenger again, of course, I love the movie as a Captain America fan. And I thought overall it is an enjoyable movie. It's a movie worth watching. But let's be real. That movie really only appeals to either diehard Captain America fans or people that are a fan of like old-timey, old-fashioned like superhero films. In fact, I feel like that was the intent behind The First Avenger. It's supposed to feel quaint. It's supposed to feel old-fashioned because Captain America, old-fashioned, 1940s, it feels reminiscent to classical superhero storytelling. But releasing a vintage, classical superhero tale in 2011, yeah, maybe not the most appealing thing for the youngins to get into, not the most appealing thing for audiences. And that's the thing, it just didn't really strike with audience. It didn't really appeal to a lot of them. Out of all of the origin films, I believe this might be the lowest or second lowest. It depends on what the Incredible Hulk made too. But I know for a fact this one's on the lower tier because it had like $170 million budget. It only made back $390 million. Now, yeah, sounds like a lot of money, but remember, when it comes to movie budgets, you have to take into consideration that you take the movie's budget and then times it by 2 to, make up for advertising as well. So altogether, the movie cost about $340 million to make. If you're going by the rough estimate of $170 million, I think I even saw somewhere around like $210 million, which means the movie didn't even break even if we're going by the higher estimates. But if we're going by the $170 million estimate, it barely broke even. It barely, which means that the character didn't resonate with audiences. And look, Many people are going to have revisionist history because of the film I'm about to talk about. But if you really go back in time and hear what people were saying about my dear friend, the Star-Spangled Man with a Plan, he was not very liked. He was not very beloved like he is today. And this whole revisionist history of people saying, oh, I loved Captain, I loved him from the beginning. Bullshit. I was there. I heard the discussions. And I'm telling you right now, most people were not vibing with Captain America. Many of them found him plain. Many of them found him old-fashioned. Many of them found him to be just an overall boring character. I've heard people say, man, Tony Stark, awesome. Thor, sexy. Hawkeye, interestingly, maybe kind of sexy. You know, he's a good actor behind it. The Hulk, smash. Oh, man. Black Widow, sexy. When they mention Captain America, they're like, yeah, I guess he's kind of cool. He's kind of old-fashioned, yeah. He had that one good joke where he's like, I understood that reference. And that's all people remember him for. And look, as a Captain America fan, it devastated me that most people weren't vibing with it. Let me also put it to you this way. When they release the sequel, usually Marvel opens up the summer movie season. The next year after the Avengers, Iron Man 3 was coming out. It was going to be released May 2013. And I would have thought, okay, for the next year when they're going to release the sequel to Captain America, it will be in May too. Nope. They pushed it a month ahead to April. And you know why they did it? They didn't do it just to get in front of the competition. They did it because they didn't really have faith in it. Let's be real. You don't push a blockbuster movie to a month that wasn't known for having such blockbuster releases. You release it in April because you don't want to compete with the summer movies of that year, which is kind of funny considering how summer 2014 shaped up. It was one of the worst summers in recorded history for blockbuster movies. I remember I was there because a lot of movies couldn't break 100 million at the box office. In fact, Transformers, what was it, Age of Extinction, broke it on a technicality. It broke it on a technicality. I remember that was big news. Why am I rambling about this? Because Captain America, for as much as I love him, he was in desperate need of a revamp. He needed some adrenaline pumped into his veins because he wasn't really connecting with audiences at this time. No one was interested in seeing a Captain America sequel. The only reason they would be interested in seeing it because he's part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, this goes back to what I said in that first video about Joe Johnston being picked as the director. Sometimes it's about who's directing the story, who's directing the film, rather than who's writing it and who's in front of the camera. Because when I tell you that hiring the Russo brothers was the most brilliant thing that Marvel has done in the last decade, I truly mean that. And this now ties into that first title. Captain America, the Winter Soldier, was an absolute game changer. It changed the way that we saw the MCU forever. From its action to its humor to its setups. This point is where everything changed for the MCU. Mainly because when the Russo brothers came along, they changed how action was viewed in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Because after Captain America, the Winter Soldier, every Marvel film had to compete with it on a stylistic basis. From its action to its humor to even some of the slower, softer moments. The overall direction of this film changed the way all the other ones after it were like. You know, it changed the way that the Avengers were done. And hell, if it wasn't for this film, the Russo brothers may have not directed Infinity War and Endgame. Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely may have not written Infinity War and Endgame. And isn't that kind of suspicious? Isn't it? The one franchise in this entire MCU where the creative team ended up helming the biggest project came from the Captain America franchise. You're welcome, America. You are welcome. They didn't hire Shane Black. They didn't hire Jon Favreau. They didn't hire the writers of Thor or of the Hulk or any of them. They picked the Captain America franchise to helm the penultimate and the finale of the Infinity Saga. They picked the directors and the writers. That's like the biggest flex that the Captain America franchise has, is that we ended up taking control, creatively speaking, on all of the big blockbuster films. After Captain America Winter Soldier, that creative team basically shaped the MCU to what it is today. Now, of course, kind of sucks how it turned out because now it feels all watered down and stuff. But again, that's what I mean by this film was a game changer. It changed the way that we saw their action. It changed the way that we saw their humor. A lot more quipping happens a lot. Take that for what you will. The camera shots, the intensity of these action scenes, like everything changed. It felt more grounded too. I know it sounds silly to say that a superhero movie felt grounded, but if you didn't tell me Captain America was a superhero movie and you told me it was a Jason Bourne film, I would buy that. Or a James Bond film, I would have bought that. Or it's freaking Ethan Hunt's Next Mission. I would have bought that. They borrowed heavily from the spy genre that inspired this film. That's why this film was an amazing revamp, because it took Captain America from being just a conventional, cliche, average superhero story to a spy espionage action thriller. And my God, I'm glad that they did that. By the way, I've been rambling for 11 minutes. I haven't even talked about the film yet. But I just wanted to explain that all because, like, this film is incredible. And 11 years later, I still think it is, honestly, one of the best Marvel Cinematic Universe films ever made. Does it have its flaws? Yes, and we will get to the flaws. But man, it still holds up incredibly. Mainly, the action. The action is still incredible and thrilling to watch. And in my past review, which I watched before making this video, I would not recommend watching it, but, you know, can I just vent a little bit? I watched my old Captain America the Winter Soldier review, and man, I was bored. I felt like, yes, I was passionate, but I didn't really divulge much. I didn't really say much. I was kind of like dancing around what I really wanted to say. And in fairness to old Tony, look, he couldn't spoil the movie. He literally saw it the night before the movie was to be released on Friday. So I get it. He couldn't really go into detail about all of things, and there are some big reveals in this film. So I get it, but man, I feel like he could have done a better job. Now, rant over, back to me talking about the action scenes, or I should say fawning over the action scenes, because my God, the moment this film starts, it does not let its foot off the gas. We get a small little exchange which becomes a running gag between Sam Wilson and Captain America, Steve Rogers, where he always says, on your left, on your left. I love the callbacks. I like that in Endgame. He even says on your left, and he was on his left. That was great. Anywho, after this small little connection that was forming between Sam and Chris, I almost said Chris, wow, Steve, they go on their first mission to this ship that's been hijacked by pirates. And when I tell you the first time I saw it, my mouth dropped. It dropped. Because I was like, this is the action I wanted to see in Captain America, the first Avenger. It's so crisp. It was so clean. It looked amazing. The way that he used his shield, where he just throw it across and it would bomb, hit somebody and then come right back to him. There was this kick he did. He kicked the guy off the ship, and he just, with such power, boom! And he hit the railing, flips over. I had never forgotten that scene, because I was like, that was one hell of a hit. And that's just in the opening moments of the fight. It keeps going. Just like Cap keeps running. That fight with St. Pierre, the MMA fighter, really good fight scene. the way that they shot the action in this film cannot be overstated. Because, yes, they did do a bit of shaky cam throughout the film, but I thought the action filmmaking here was superb. You felt the intensity. They really did their homework because it felt like I was watching a Jason Bourne-esque action scene. I was watching a Mission Impossible-esque action scene. I'm trying to find the word. They captured that style so perfectly, so seamlessly, and it works so well in a Captain America story. It works so well. It's so fitting. I'm surprised no one thought of it beforehand. Captain America and a spy espionage thriller? Yeah, that's a great idea. And it goes from action scene to action scene. Like every action scene builds on top of the previous one. You got the opening ship action scene that leads into the car chase scene with Nick Fury, which finally Nick Fury gets a decent action scene. Yes, he got that one small action scene in Avengers, which was nice and all, but I always wanted to see him in action. This was him in action, and it did not disappoint. The introduction of the Winter Soldier, great introduction. From there, then we get, honestly, one of the most iconic action scenes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the elevator fight scene. That will go down as, honestly, one of the most badass fight scenes in any Marvel Cinematic Universe film. You know what? I dare say it might be number 1 or number 2, because I think number 1 for me is the fight on Titan between Thanos, Iron Man, Doctor Strange, half of the Guardians of the Galaxy, Spider-Man, like all of them trying to take him down. I think that was one of the best action scenes ever made. So from the same team too, by the way. But if I would say there's a close second, it is the elevator fight scene. Because and here's one thing I always heard someone say to me is like, how come they only took one hit to knock some of those guys out? Like some of them didn't even get back up, or one guy's like, oh, this hurt. Do you understand who Captain America is? This is not like an average guy punching another average guy. This is a super soldier who has been given immense power. Imagine a punch from Captain America. Okay, getting punched by a boxer hurts. Imagine getting punched by 10 boxers at the same time. That's the equivalent force of how Captain America hits somebody. Okay? I don't think the movies do how strong Captain America is justice. He's incredibly strong. In fact, the movie actually references this when they blow up this facility that Captain America and Natasha were in, and he holds up his shield to hold up the debris, which is a reference to the comics where he held up a crumbling building with his shield. A crumbling building, you know how heavy that is? So yeah, a punch from Captain America on an average guy would probably knock his ass cold. And you probably wouldn't get it. He's incredibly strong. So when he hits one of them, they're going to be down for the count. That's why they had to have so many guys in the elevator to not give him any wiggle room so they could hold him down. Because one punch is all it takes for him. With average guys. And chances are he was even holding back at that time. Because again, he probably could break their face if he really went all out. So yeah, that elevator fight scene, well executed, well choreographed. It's intense, it's thrilling. That line that opens up the fight scene is so iconic. Before we get started, does anybody want to get out? And then all this craziness. And you get to see the action unfold right in front of you. It's not like super shaky cam. There is some shake to it. But you actually can see the blows. You can actually see the restraining. The pure strength that Captain America has. And that scene where he kicks up his, he literally kicks up his shield. It comes up to him and he goes, poof. Oh, what a satisfying ending to a brilliantly executed fight scene. Such a great fight scene. You go from there, he's on the run from the law, and then you get another excellent fight scene where it's a car chase that leads to a gun a gunfight, a shootout that leads to a hand-to-hand combat between Natasha and the Winter Soldier. Then it's Captain America versus the Winter Soldier, which is one of the coolest throwdowns in any Marvel film. I know I keep saying that, but really, you know how intense, and it went on for a while, because these two are on even playing fields, fighting each other. It was incredible. It was so thrilling to watch. So again, I can't sing the action scenes praises enough. It is honestly the defining thing of this film, the action scenes. But is it the best thing about this film? I say, hell no. The best thing about this film, honestly, the character building, the character relationships. I always felt like Captain America as a franchise always does a great job at building chemistry between their characters. And each character has a different relationship with each other. Captain America's relationship with Sam Wilson is not the same as Captain America's relationship with Natasha. Not the same as his relationship with Nick Fury. They're all different and unique in their own ways. Like when he's with Natasha, they have a very playful, friendly type of banter, type of relationship. Very flirty in a sense. She teases him. He plays along with it. They have great camaraderie. And you could tell that while they are on shaky grounds at first, because yes, I have worked with you, but I don't truly know you. You are a spy amongst spies, so how well should I trust you? But you could see he is confidently trusting in Natasha as time goes on. And she's kind of peeling back the layers of who she is as a person and becoming a little bit more forthcoming of who she is like and what type of person she wants to be. His relationship with Sam is so touching and heartwarming because they both are soldiers that deal with issues. They related to each other on that level right there. But then Sam is not a replacement for Bucky, but Sam is a Bucky-like character that's helpful to Steve. Steve is in a world that he doesn't truly understand and doesn't have much guidance because he lives in a world of spies. To get to connect with a down-to-earth person like Sam is honestly it's what the doctor ordered. You know, he needed that. He needed a connection to the real world, a just regular person to connect with, and that's what Sam provided him. And Sam, knowing that teaming up with Captain America means that you are being called upon to do something bigger than yourself, he does not hesitate. The moment that Cap shows up at his door, he's like, yo, I'm ready for action. And I like the fact that this guy is ride or die from the moment that Captain comes to him and asks for help. That's one of my favorite qualities about Sam Wilson as a character. That's why I really like Sam Wilson, not only in the movies, but I also liked him as a character in the comic books. And why I was actually okay with him being the new Captain America. I felt, at least in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he's earned the right to be Captain America. He's proven to be trustworthy. Who else could you trust? Cap was not going to just give his shield to the government. He was going to give it to somebody that he felt like could embody the spirit of Captain America. An average person standing up for the little man. Because that's what Captain America is. An average guy given the strength of a superhero that stands up for the little man, that stands up for everyone. That's Sam. Sam has proven it multiple times in multiple films. So yeah, I always liked Sam Wilson. I've always rooted for him. And can I just say, I had forgotten just how fucking cool the Falcon suit is. Watching it again, I'm almost flabbergasted I've forgotten how cool it looks. It looks phenomenal. And I cannot, honestly, I'm excited to see him rocking that suit with the shield. That's going to be exciting to watch in Captain America Brave New World. I'm looking forward to that. His relationship with Nick Fury is shaky. It's untrusting. It's like suspicious. But at the same time, there's a sense of respect that Captain has for, that he has for Nick Fury. He understands his intentions. He just doesn't vibe with his intentions. It's funny how the Project Insight that they're doing is very emblematic of what will later become Ultron. Like, it almost felt like a precursor to what Ultron's going to be. And it makes sense why he has such issues with Tony Stark making these big decisions about I want to protect the world. It's like, it's not your call to make, Tony. Just like he told Nick, hey, that's not your call to make. This isn't freedom. This is fear. And I love it. They did not betray Captain America's character. I know I'm talking about writing now, but really that's one of the things they could have dropped the ball on. He could have just been a jokester, and yes, he does tell some jokes in here, which I wasn't really vibing with, but they don't sacrifice his true character. They don't Flanderize Captain America. He is still the same Captain America from the first Avenger as he is in this film, and they have always been consistent with Captain. Always. In every movie that he's in. The only variation or the only difference I've ever seen in Captain America is in Endgame, but I can excuse that because he's been in the world longer. It had been 5 years after the snap. He's been through so much. He will change as a character. I just didn't like the constant quipping. And I should say, outside of just the writing, the performances are fantastic. Chris Evans, this was the movie that really sold me on him being Captain America. I know I already kind of bought him in the first Avenger. I loved him in Avengers, of course. I loved him taking on that leadership role. But this was the movie that I think truly cemented my love and adoration for Chris Evans' portrayal of Captain America. He will always be the Star-Spangled Man with a plan. No offense, Anthony Mackie. I'm supporting you, but Chris Evans has always been my guy. I've always loved Chris Evans. And this was the first time where I finally took him seriously, and I never saw him as the jokester anymore. I was fully committed to him being Captain America. Scarlett Johansson, I never liked the thing she does where she's like, always like smirking or something like that. But she was good in the film. Anthony Mackie's good. Samuel Jackson, I mean, it's Samuel motherfucking Jackson. Okay? That guy kills in every role he's in. He killed it at the Super Bowl. He kills it in this movie. And do you know how phenomenal it is that these guys were able to get such an A-lister, cultural, Hollywood legend in, oh man, I'm blanking out on his name. The guy that played that played Pierce. How am I blanking out on this guy's name? He's a Hollywood icon. But the fact that they got him to be in this film, how? How did you convince him to be in? Robert Redford. I don't know why, but forgive me, Robert Redford. I dropped the ball. I fucked up. Getting Robert Redford to be in this film, and not just be in this film, but to be the main antagonist of this film. Amazing. Amazing. Him as Pierce, Secretary Pierce, he blew me away. The only thing I found bothersome is sometimes he would quip, and again, I'll get to that soon. But yes, there was this one scene where, Nick Fury had been declared dead. Everyone thought he was dead. He shows up, and the first thing he says to Nick Fury is, "Did you get my flowers?" And I get it, he was trying to be like tongue-in-cheeky because he feels like he still has control of the situation and everything. But I thought that was unnecessary. I think a nice stare would have been just enough. I know that he wasn't trying to take himself too seriously, but I don't like how nonchalant that meeting was. Samuel L. Jackson, dog. Like in this film, that line that I said at the beginning of this video, you gotta keep both eyes open. I've always loved that line. It's one of the top 10 best lines in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It just is a damn shame when we found out what happened to his eyes. Such bullshit. I thought there would be a much better story behind it. Instead, I got scratched by a flurkin. The writing is surprisingly good too. There are so many powerful moments, not just the action scene. I'm talking about the slow moments, the moment that builds character or shows relationships. The best moment, drama-wise, I would say, is when Captain America, when Steve Rogers visits an aged, dying Peggy Carter. And look, I'm going to complain a little bit. The CGI with her, the de-aging on her, hasn't held up well. It looks a lot faker now than it did back in 2014. Even my girlfriend thought it was noticeable. And then when I started looking closer, I'm like, yeah, it is actually kind of noticeable. But that scene it always hits me. It hit me the second time I saw it again. Or this isn't the second time I saw it, but it hit me again just watching it. Because like that moment where she coughs and he goes to get the water and he comes back and then you see it in her eyes. Steve, you're alive. Oh, it's been so long. Your heart just breaks. It breaks twice. It breaks because you discover Peggy Carter has dementia or Alzheimer's. She's losing her memory. And look, she's in an older age. Obviously, she's going to be ill and sickly. But the fact that she's losing her memories, that was painful to see. But not only that, you get to see kind of what it might have been like the first time that she sees Steve alive. Because we never got that moment. This is them afterwards, right? Now we kind of get to relive that moment through her dementia and how she felt about seeing him again after all these years. You know, it breaks your heart. A powerful scene in a superhero film, honestly. Well done, not watered down by jokes or humor or banter. Just a solid, dramatic moment. And I also love the moments that we got between Bucky and Steve. Yes, most of it was fighting and all that stuff. But where he realizes that he was fighting his old friend, where he's just like, Bucky, you could see his soul kind of sank a little bit because he didn't expect to see him again. And he didn't expect to see him like that. You know? And then where he's like, I'm not going to fight you. He throws his shield down. And, you know, Bucky starts wailing on him. And he's like, you just complete your mission. Because I'm with you till the end of the line. It's like saying, I could do this all day. You know? And I just loved it. I love those scenes. Those scenes are incredible. Well orchestrated. To talk more about the writing, I think one of the most interesting things is the twist. And the thing I couldn't even talk about in my review. The fact that Hydra were secretly working behind the scenes in S.H.I.E.L.D. Wow. That was an excellently done, well orchestrated, and honestly surprising twist. I would have never suspected that S.H.I.E.L.D. was compromised. And I would have never suspected Hydra infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. But it makes a lot of sense too. They actually pull from real world events, real world situations, because when they said that they hired German scientists to work for the government, to work for S.H.I.E.L.D., guess what? The U.S. government did that too. The U.S. government did that too. In fact, Warner von Braun, he's the guy that helped us get to the moon. He's the guy that helped us get to the moon. And guess what? He was a Nazi! Although he didn't really want to be a Nazi, to be fair to him. Rest in peace to Warner von Braun. But he did work for the Nazis. He did build them their missile program. We did that in real life, and they incorporate that here in Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Again, showing that great attention to detail that Christopher, Marcus, and Stephen McFeely did. They did their homework, and they found a way to incorporate that into this story. Mwah! I loved it. The twist of Dr. Zola planting the seeds for over 70 years, all culminating into this moment. And the logic that he used about, like, you know, when you try to take freedom away from people, they fight back. So instead, why don't we convince them that freedom isn't really that important? You don't need freedom. You need to be safe. Let us protect you. Let us take care of those targets for you. Who are the targets? Don't worry about that. I'll take care of it. Don't worry. I got you. I got you good. I loved it. That whole thing was a well done twist. Bravo. Bravo altogether. And the the third act, well executed. Bit over CGI, you know, a bit too much CGI there. Now let's talk about some of the issues, because I've been rambling for 34 minutes. Jesus Christ again. I have a lot to say. What can I say? I, again, had some issues with the CGI. I already mentioned about Peggy Carter's face. I will say too, the bantering. I feel like this was like the genesis of it getting a bit out of hand. Because like it feels like almost every other line, Black Widow's like throwing a quip or two every time she speaks. And sometimes I just feel like, are we just constantly just gonna be telling jokes here left and right? Come on, guys, let's calm down with the bantering, please. Even Cap got into it a little bit. I'm like, please, don't do the. I mean, it's too late already. It's already happened. It was an infectious disease that will plague Civil War. Trust me, we'll get to Civil War tomorrow, but it plagues a lot of these Marvel Cinematic movies, and I feel like the genesis really was the Avengers, and then after that, after everyone really loved the humor of the Avengers, every Marvel Cinematic Universe film had to have humor to that level. It felt like almost like a studio mandate. Like, we have to have Avengers-like humor because audiences like the Avengers or Avengers as humor. And it found its way in here. I will also say Agent 13, I still do not understand why we needed her. Especially because we later find out her name is Sharon Carter. The niece, the grandniece, the grandniece of Peggy Carter. And we'll get to that really infamous scene in Civil War. But she just feels completely unnecessary. And I feel bad for Emily Van Camp. I know she does show up, I think, in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think she does show up in that series. And she is also now compromised, which is kind of hilarious considering she was one of the few people not compromised in the Winter Soldier. Now all of a sudden she is. Make heads or tails of that. That's weird. But yeah, I felt bad for Emily Von Camp. I don't think they really gave her much to work with because the character just wasn't interesting. And there's no real chemistry between her and Captain America. I know they were kind of like planting the seeds, but she is no Peggy Carter. She is no Peggy Carter. She's not as interesting as her grand aunt. She's not as hot as her grand aunt. Don't have the accent like the grand aunt. Sorry. She's just not that interesting. Zora as a character, didn't really care much. I would have loved to see more of Rumble, is his name? The guy that becomes Crossbone. It would have been interesting if he actually built a good relationship with Cap so that when he does the betrayal later on, it is a little bit more shocking and a little bit more devastating. Not only that, but I wish they also had like a final fight scene. His fight scene was with Sam Wilson and it was kind of an uneven fight that was ended because one of the helipads were like crashing into the building and he still ends up being alive. Oh, get real. It would have been nice to see him have one last duel with Cap. Of course, be over really quickly because he's not at Cap's level. I mean, he gets that one fight scene where he shocks him a little bit in the belly, I guess. So, other than that, though, I don't have many problems with this film. Like, those are the few things I had issues with. And honestly, I could forgive it for the amazing action throughout, the great writing, the great character, the memorable characters, and overall excellent film from beginning to end. That is still, in my opinion, an epic masterpiece. It still holds up to this day. It's still a lot of fun to watch. It's even perfectly timed. It's 2 hours and 16 minutes. Not super long. Yeah, I get it. 2 hours, that's asking a lot. But man, you're enthralled from beginning to end. You want to see how it all goes down. It's a phenomenally made, not only a phenomenally made MCU film, but just a phenomenally made action film. If you're an action junkie, this is your shit. You gotta go watch Captain America the Winter Soldier. Even if you don't like superhero movies, even if you don't like the MCU, watch this movie. I promise you, you'll enjoy it. So anyway, that's my quick thoughts of Captain America the Winter Soldier. Let me know what you guys thought about the film as well in the comment sections below. I appreciate you guys watching, and until the next one, guys, for my next video tomorrow and on Thursday, if you'd like to see more videos of this channel, be part of the Black Critic Crew, please hit that subscribe button below. Like this video if you really enjoyed it. And I'm Tony Wiley II. Oh, shoot, I did it again. One last issue. I didn't like the music. Nothing against Henry Jackman. He's actually an underrated composer, but I just didn't like his score here. And it's really hard to like follow up Alan Silvestri's amazing score for Captain America: The First Avenger, but I get that he was going for the more spy espionage themes, but there wasn't really anything memorable or noticeable about the score. It kind of just fades into the background, which sucks. I want the score to stand out too. Anyway, that's my last thing. Thank you guys for watching. As always, if you want to see my videos on the channel, be a part of the Black Critic Crew, please hit that subscribe button below. Like this video if you really enjoyed it. I'm Tony Wise II, the Captain America fan known as the Black Critic Guy. Till then, peace, YouTube.